With Durham's face ever changing, elements of its story and past can be lost to time through the immigration of new residents and the exodus of old ones. As these residents who wrote Durham's previous chapters move on, they take their experiences here with them, and thus, a small piece of Durham. Through these interactions, collaborations, and collections via the Durham Oral Histories Project, we want to hold on to some of this fundamental history through firsthand accounts so as to also retain some elements of what's helped make Durham Durham.
The mission of the Durham Oral Histories Project is to create an independent, apolitical teaching platform for intergenerational sharing, education, and support through collaborative storytelling from the Durham community, with the goal of establishing a collection of knowledge which captures the memories, periods, and events that have helped shape us as a community and as a nation. Last year, during a treatment team meeting at the Criminal Justice Resource Center, we were discussing the fact that over a weekend, yet another member of our client population had met his death through street gun violence. That conversation led into general conversations about what was going on in Minneapolis and in Minnesota and across this country in response to George Floyd's murder. A number of our staff began to talk about what their life experience was like as an African American growing up in the United States in the 50s and 60s. And some of the things that stood out most in those conversations were community conversations in African American churches about preparing to go to the March on Washington in 1963, and that only one parent should go because if that parent was killed, there would still be a parent at home to take care of the children. And the idea that such a conversation needed to happen in this country and this time, it astounded me. And it made me wonder, what are we doing to collect these stories? Because these are stories that happened within our lifetimes. And these are rich with experience of what it has taken to create change in this country, how far we've come, and how very far we have to go. And so this project was started with an eye toward how do we capture those voices? Because nothing can convey a story better than the voice of the person who experienced it.
After much discussion, we decided to go forward with the project. I sat down with Nina Bullock for the first recording, and 1 hour later, the very first Durham Oral History Project was completed.
Well, growing up in Durham, it was there. It was in your face. You had, I remember going to a rally that was organized by the NAACP as a child. All my family was in that motorcade as we traveled down Highway 15501 to the Howard Johnson's that was located over there at the time. And the Klan turned out in the hoods. It was scary. And I remember thinking as a kid, looking out the window of that car, everybody in my family could be killed if it turned to that. And it was scary. And as I got older and went to college, I remember being in a march. We were marching from A&T over to Bennett, and the dogs came out, and the bats and the tear gas and all of that happened. And I remember being on the corner of Market Street and Benbow at that recreation center down there, and tear gas was just the police with tear gas. And again, another episode of fear. So fear was the theme of the day then. Fear is the theme of the day now. It takes courage to change things.
You know, I was talking to my brother's son, and he was about 7 years old at the time. Now he's an adult, grown. And he said something to me that was, it disturbed me. And I tried to figure out a way how I could say to him or show him what I heard him saying. So what I did, I took a white sheet of paper, okay, and I drew a black dot on one side, and I drew a white dot on the other side. In the center of the paper, I had about 20 words like good, bad, ugly, wrong, right, God, devil, dirty, vile, evil, words like that, right? Now I had a line to the right of the word and a line to the left of the word. And I said, we call him Bubba. I said, Bubba, no wrong or right answers. Just check off to me, tell me how you see that word. Now, to cut to the chase, every word that had a negative connotation, he checked off under the black dot. Every word that had a positive connotation, he checked off under the white dot. Then I turned the paper over and I had the same black dot, same white dot, right? With one word, and the word was you. And I said, so what are you? And he said, blah. He did not even finish the word, saying black. He, in his 7-year-old mind, connected that how he saw himself, it was no different from the words that he had checked off under black.
Where was Walgreens, Woolworth, and Cressy's?
About 2 blocks down, 2 to 3 blocks down from where we are now.
I marched in the picket lines, and I have to give credit to White Rock and St. Joseph. And I was a student at Central. And the most fascinating thing to me was when I came down here and marched in front of Walgreens. I laughed. Well, the people that was in charge of us made our signs.
Yes, ma'am.
And printed them. And I never forget coming downtown one day to march, and it'd be about 4 people in the line. And you'd have to march 4 to 5 people. You couldn't be, see, like you just march like this, but you had to be so many feet apart. And you'd march up here and you'd turn and turn. And one day we came down here, down in Walgreens, and we're marching. There was a white girl in the same line with me, marching. And we happened to look up against the wall over there, because we had to march out here. And this is the store here. You couldn't march in the sidewalk. And when we came down here that day, it was about 4 or 5. We gave a name to them, but I won't give that name. White men with homemade signs made out of cardboard boxes. And this white girl was walking right behind me, and when you go up here and turn, she would do one of these numbers. We were looking at the misspelled words on the sign. And when we got back, she didn't go to St. Joseph, but the rest of them went to St. Joseph. We had a ball. We had a ball laughing at those signs. We tore the place out. The basement of St. Joseph, we just had a ball.
What would you want someone who is watching this interview, what would you want them, what takeaways would you want them to get from your experiences in life and your perspectives of Durham? What would you want them to take away from this interview?
I would want them to take away the love of community. You gotta love it if you're gonna live in it. And if you want it to be what you want it to be, you gotta have your voice heard. You have to be, as John Lewis said, get in the way in the right way to make the community be your vision of what the community can be for yourself, for the children that you have, for the children that the future generations that are coming down the road. I gotta give a shout out to my cousin. Her name is Vanessa Mason Allen, and she is the community president of the Bragtown area and really on the forefront doing some great things, doing the things that I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. You know, in terms of trying to help make that community be remembering the past, but moving into the future. You have to have that kind of love for community to do that.
Now we want to hear from you. We would like to invite you to join us on this adventure. Do you have a story that you want to share with our community? Or is there someone in your circle who has shared a part of their story with you and you would love to hear more of their experience? If so, consider joining us on the Durham Oral Histories Project. Please reach out by visiting our survey link and share your voice.